It's time for the Access of Easy podcast, the weekly technology digest that keeps you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by EasyDNS.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very spooky Access of Easy podcast. My name is Joey. That's Len. Tonight, I'm dressed as somebody who... I should have thought about the joke before we did the show.
I'm dressed as a Bitcoiner.
You're dressed as a guy who's getting ready to go golfing.
Yes. And you know what? Tomorrow I should be, but I'm not because scheduling didn't work out. But next week I'll be back at it. I'm playing until December, I think, this year, Joey. I think
beautiful night tonight for the kids too, trick-or-treating. It just started raining pretty heavily here like 15 minutes ago. So there's gaggles of kids just scattering all over the place.
Good for the plants, and it's good to keep the older kids away, because that's what happens. Initially, it's the young kids come out, and the older kids later on that cause ruckus. Well, they won't cause a ruckus this year because they're going to get rained out. Maybe they'll do it tomorrow, but happy Diwali, Joey.
Happy Diwali. This week's quote of the week, the single greatest strength. Oh, this is last week's quote, I should say. The single greatest strength of free markets is their ability to generate innovative things whose popularity makes no sense. That was by Rory Sutherland, and no one got that. I would put Pogs in that category. Remember Pogs?
Yeah, that was pretty big in the late 90s.
Yeah, mid to late 90s. Yeah. I'd put them in that category. This week's quote: the limited human wisdom that guides our concept of virtue often becomes our compelling force for evil. If you know who that was by, put it in the comments. Don't look it up. No Googling. Don't cheat. Don't pervert the process. And you get your next round of renewals on Easy DNS free of charge. Len, some bangers tonight in the
I want to correct something from last week.
Sure.
The correct quote that I gave should be: our product is steel, our strength is people. That's from DeFasco.
Okay, I thought it was Brafasco.
And you know, interestingly enough, Joey, you and I met the person, or we're in the same room with the person that created that slogan. I will tell you later on, but yes.
I mean, I'll just look at who created it, but I'm guessing I can think about where we might have been in the same room as that person. I'll tell you that much.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we were there. We were so close to greatness. Right.
Incredible. Listen, where do you want to start this very spooky episode? We have how many stories tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five. Yeah.
Let's do this French ISP free. They certainly are free because this is a very big company. They have 22 million customers that is under them, and it's one of the larger ISPs in France. And they confirmed this past week that they have been subjected to a cyber attack, and this resulted in the theft of data of around 19 million people. 19 million customers. Now, this is interesting because there's conflicting information from when I dig into this. They say that no passwords, bank card information, emails, SMS, or voicemails were compromised. But then on the other side, they're saying that some of this may have been taken for sale that is being sold right now on the dark web. Because I'm not exactly sure what is being sold on the dark web, but they have something from their customers. I guess it's some of the things that Free is saying that they don't have in their hands, but the heck are they selling? I don't know.
Well, it depends. If they're not selling passwords, they could be selling like identifying information, right? It just says databases containing information on 19 million customer accounts and 5 million international bank account details. So yeah, they didn't get your ISP password, but your ISP password hardly the most important thing your ISP has.
No, but in terms of like the data in which you are using, right, there's like essentially that is your footprint.
Yeah,
your fingerprint.
Totally.
Unless you're using a VPN, maybe that could potentially get you around it. But the free credit monitoring, again, I'm getting conflicting information. It looks like they may or may not be giving it out. I have no confirmation as of yet. But the company Free did file a criminal complaint with the police, and they informed France's National Commission for Information Technology and Civil Liberties, and also the National Agency for Security of Information Systems. And they're also working with cybersecurity experts to try to investigate what happened. And this will hopefully prevent future attacks from coming out. It just goes to show you that this type of attack doesn't seem to be happening very often, or at least not reported very often. Either way, it's a honeypot of information, And we have no way to get around this. If you want to have a presence on the internet, you have to deal with an ISP. And the ISPs, hopefully they're very good at protecting your data. In this case, Free was not. But moving forward, I would imagine this would be a great place for cyber criminals to attack because of what could be obtained from this. So, yeah, interesting stuff.
Totally. Domain sure to protect you from this, by the way. Domain name service poisoning, DNS poisoning is interesting here. I'm just kind of looking this up. It's a spoof, basically, an address spoof where you get access to the DNS and are able to swap in a suspect address in place of the legit one. And that's how you wind up with people's passwords and get into their accounts and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, Mark has something for this over these DNS. You can definitely look into that. I think the broader point, though, is like you're saying, another honeypot, man. And, when you think about the number of different data points an ISP has on you, I mentioned stuff like banking, your address. You mentioned stuff like your digital footprint and online presence and the unsavory things you Google, the unsavory scenarios you type into ChatGPT, all available probably at some level vis-a-vis your ISP. And don't forget, Len, that, when criminal justice wants to impose its will on you, even if you have yet to commit a crime, they typically do go to ISPs to see what you've been up to. We've talked about those stories over the years on this show and on CBP. And so that these guys have data that is, it's not something you want leaked. I'll tell you that much. And it's too bad because it's going to become more and more common. We say this all the time, that the criminal actors are getting much more sophisticated, and these big kind of cruise liner types of like telecom companies or internet companies or whatever, they just don't have the tools to adjust that quickly. Right. And then maybe my favorite part of the story, sort of a pet subject of mine, Free reports that it will soon be informing impacted customers via email, not even a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
They'll just go to your junk mail. You won't even read it. You won't even read the email that comes in because chances are you delete everything, and Gmail now understands that you think it's all spam. So there you go, man. You probably won't even find out. I wish you the best dealing with these agencies and this internet company. Good luck. Free is what you should be paying after something like this, not the name of the company you're patronizing.
H&R Block, let's talk about them, because for those who are unaware, it's a company which files a lot of taxes for Canadians, for people that tend to have not very complex taxes they need to file, and they just want to do it quick and easy at a relatively cheap cost. They could go to a company called H&R Block and get it done. And CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, well, it looks like both them and the HR Block were victims of a significant data breach that allowed hackers to access sensitive taxpayer information. This was first reported back in 2020, but the full extent of the damage still is yet unknown and has to be discovered. And the hackers were able to exploit a vulnerability in H&R Block's system to gain access to the confidential taxpayer data, such as the social insurance number, banking information, tax return details, and so forth. If somebody gets access to this type of information, they could cause serious damage to an individual. And this could be used to file fraudulent tax returns moving forward, divert millions of dollars in refunds. There was just a story that was posted either yesterday or today. CBC was reporting that somebody went on to the CRA website and did an adjustment on a previous tax filing. I think it was 2023, and to the tune of saying that they had to get a refund. And there was something about $40 million. I think that was the total refund they would have got. And CRA was started paying that person that refund without even doing due diligence. So if somebody gets access to this information, like I mentioned, they could go on CRA and cause some serious damage, because once you get this information compromised, it's out in the open, and forget about it. You'll never be able to get it back. So H&R Block's got to do a way better thing, way better job of managing this type of data. This is not like a simple data that really doesn't impact people. This impacts a lot of people that once they get their hands on it. I personally don't use H&R Block. I don't know how many people do, but I would look at this story and I would consider using an alternate service. Perhaps even using an accountant that's maybe smaller, maybe not get attacked, maybe has better security. I don't know, or maybe do it yourself. That's another option. You could simply do it yourself. A lot of taxes can be done by yourself without a lot of fuss or hassle. Simply do it. I think that's probably the better way. But yeah, H&R Block, 2 thumbs down to you guys.
The H&R Block client base is, I think, actually the people who want the refund right then and there.
Yeah.
There's a portion of that too, right? It's kind of in the same vein as like the payday loan stuff, where H&R Block will take, whatever, 20% or 10% of your refund and just pay it out to you right there in cash or check. And then they deal with everything else on the backside and get the full amount, or the remainder of the amount that you were entitled to, just because you have, whatever poor spending habits. There's two problems with this for me. One is, as you mentioned, that people were just going into CRA files, changing, and not the CRA's files, but their like personal CRA files, and changing reporting. And then the CRA, without any further investigation, questioning, anything like that, even though they hired, I think, how many more agents over the last little while? I think 7,000 or 8,000 was the number
They're not
over
armed.
the last few years. Not armed, exactly. These guys hired all those people, and no one, I guess, caught any of this. They just started doling out the money, and they'll supposedly, I guess, get it back later, or try to. I mean, it's a criminal enterprise at this point. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. Another, immense resource cost to the state there. And, the other problem I have is that the CRA is trying to pin this on H&R Block a little bit, right? But H&R Block is a public agency that presumably the CRA has ties with, for many different reasons. They're allowing H&R Block to basically run a service where they take the refunds of Canadians in exchange for security and reliability at some level. Anyone who's seen this sort of, proposal requests that government puts out for these sorts of things, I would guess would agree that generally the winners of contracts for something like this, to be a partner in something as significant as a tax refund service, there must be some requirements here, but they're clearly not being met. My suggestion for a fix here would be to stop H&R Block from being able to access CRA databases on behalf of taxpayers, right? That's the rational thing to do.
It's in order for them to file the tax returns, I think they have to have access.
So but do they care about security? Do they care about protecting the taxpayer? I mean, I hear all the time that I need to be protected. I can't buy certain stocks. I can't invest in certain private vehicles. I, have to stop at red lights, stop signs and speed bumps everywhere I look. Surely this counts as protection, no?
I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of people overlook this cybersecurity, and they don't really care about it too much. But
no, it's ridiculous. It's a crazy story, and nothing will come of this though, because like I mentioned, the real user base for H&R Block are people that are kind of lower on the totem pole. I hate to say it, but I think that's going to play a big part in what the response is from the federal government.
Let's move on and talk about this joint venture between the U.S. authorities, Dutch authorities, and others. And it was an effort to disrupt the Redline and Meta Infostealers. So the U.S. Department of Justice, they basically went after this guy named Maxim Rudomentov. I hope I pronounced his name right. He's one of the developers and administrators of the Redline Infostealer. And it's a malware program that steals login credentials, credit card information, and other personal information on a victim's computer. And the Department of Justice alleged that he developed, distributed, and sold Redline through online forums and marketplaces. I guess he would be using digital currencies as a way to get, payment, but who knows? So the U.S. also seized the domain used by Redline and Meta, and they took control of it. And the servers used that were used to distribute and communicate with the attackers with the malware was also seized as well. Domains were seized as well. And they also looks like they're going to be going after. They're going to be continuing going after this Redline and Meta. So people need to be aware of what happened. Again, this is just a malware stuff, and really it boils down to the computer or device you're running. Make sure you are running the latest updates. You're not downloading stuff that should not be downloaded. A malware doesn't just simply show up on your computer without user interaction. The user has to do something for this to end up on your computer and steal your data. So when you get emailed something that seems to be out of the ordinary, don't click the link. Similarly, if somebody gives you a USB drive or something, don't open it up. Like there's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself from getting attacked by this stuff. But this guy looks like he's going to be nailed to the cross. And the U.S. Department of Justice, they mean business. When they want to go after somebody, they will. And there's a few of these they did. Was one that they did recently that was, I can't see, it wasn't the Bitcoin Cash guy. What the heck was it? Anyways, it escapes me. But the Bitcoin Cash guy was also the receiving end of the U.S. Department of Justice, right? Like when you want somebody, they could go after them hard. And the Telegram guy kind of escaped that.
Yeah, a little bit for now. We'll see what he traded. Did he sell his soul for that result? We'll talk about that story here in 6 months, I'm sure, when Telegram chats are leaked. Interesting note here. So I'll just read right from the article. Redline is considered one of the most prolific strains of Infostealer malware. Criminals have been using Redline, which has been active since 2020, to steal the sensitive data of hundreds of millions of people, according to a recent report. Now, you mentioned, the average person kind of not clicking on stuff. Gets better. The malware has been attributed to a 2022 hack at Uber. Theft of login details from WorldCoin orb operators. Does that sound familiar to you? And the breach of a senior official at Israel's National Cybersecurity Directorate. They are not just targeting mom and pop. They're going after big guns. And
I don't want to go into the WorldCoin thing because I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But all I have to say is, just don't give your information up, especially the retina scan.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Again, the big takeaway here is that things are evolving very, very quickly, and you can say what you like about how secure you are, how secure you think you are. If you're not taking extreme care when you have extremely sensitive data on your machine, you're asking for trouble. Period. That's the end of the story. Period. End of story. Everyone is looking for opportunities and easy pickpocket, when it comes to data or banking stuff or whatever. You can't be too careful. These are guys who know what they're doing, and if you have something worth their time, they will spend some time trying to get it from you. No doubt about it.
Yeah, do some periodic searches to see what ports are open. Run a firewall.
Yep.
There's lots you can do to prevent yourself from being attacked. It's not just being proactive.
Or just have a daily driver. Like if you have a daily driver, don't put anything super sensitive on there. Like that's really these days, like that is the answer, I think, more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this China-sponsored Evasive Panda. This is the hacking group.
5 out of 5. 5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I do not like it, and I give it a 1.5. Maybe
there's never been an Evasive Panda. This is like a play on words. It's a ironic poetic license being taken here. No, okay. Well, I like it. I give it
I don't know.
5 for me. Clean 5.
There's now this professional grade tool set called Cloud Scout, and this could retrieve data from various cloud services by leveraging stolen web session cookies. So this Cloud Scout is designed to work seamlessly with MGBot, and this is the Evasive Panda's proprietary malware framework. And Cloud Scout is designed to access publicly service clouds options or sites by hijacking these authenticated web sessions using, as I mentioned, the stolen web session cookies. And the Cloud Scout modules use a set of hard-coded web requests as well as complex HTML parsers to identify and extract any data of interest from web responses, such as email, folder listings, and email messages. Email messages are typically non-encrypted when you're going from one email server to another. If you're using the same email server, for example, if I'm sending it from Gmail to Gmail, that can be encrypted. But if you're doing it from Gmail to, say, Hotmail, the encryption doesn't really work. It won't be able to hide the information all that well. So email is not a good method of sending secure information. Find a better way. So the Chinese APT is known for constantly evolving its cyber attack techniques, but the latest iteration, well, this is pretty sophisticated, and researchers note that that's been targeting a lot of harmful individuals, including people in Nigeria. And I'm hoping that no princes over there lost their fortunes, because they're going to be coming after us to be made whole. So feel bad for you princes out there in Nigeria, because this is no good. But why are they going after Nigerian folks? I don't understand. Like, are they wealthy?
So no, I'll tell you why. So the basic gist. This is a little bit of further reading. So I don't think you'll see this in the article, but this Evasive Panda APT group, okay, what they generally target are like freedom and independence movements, religious movements, academic like things that are basically like upsetting to a dictatorial regime, or a unilateral regime. if you look back at there's an article here on the ESET website that I just pulled up or I had pulled up for the show. I'll read a couple of key points from it. They summarized it well. This is from 2023. Key points of this report. Users in mainland China were targeted with this malware delivered through updates for software developed by Chinese companies. So there's your thread, right? China doesn't like certain groups, and so they work with Chinese companies to have this malware update in a software update, probably an auto update, right? It's funny, you and me talk all the time. Make sure you're getting the latest version of software. Well, this time, maybe not. These guys are analyzing competing hypotheses of how the malware could have been delivered to targeted users. They are saying that basically, like this backdoor MG bot and its toolkit are easily deliverable through app updates and software updates. This is the way they do it. And it seems to me like you need to have government, I don't want to say intervention because it's not quite, it's not quite as soft as that, but it's basically forcing companies that are providing applications to the broader public to say, look, for this device or that device or this account or that account on your app store, on your website, this is the update I want you to push. And so they do it. And it's dicey once you start heading down that road. So I think there's not really much you can do about this except get the hell out of those jurisdictions, right? Like if you're having trouble with your government spying on you vis-a-vis your device software updates, it's one thing for like Big Brother to be around. It's another thing entirely for nefarious and malicious updates to be pushed to your phone because you think you should be able to vote every 4 years or whatever the cause is. Different story altogether. This is it's a precarious situation folks over there find themselves in.
How much time before we ditch our phones altogether? Because it's
got to be close. I'm going back to rotary. I need a phone that takes me 10 minutes to dial because then at least I won't make any hasty phone calls, right? If I really don't have to talk to them,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you, by the end of it, by the time you do the 10 digits, you have thought about the message you want to talk. You want to like, it's not like you're just picking up and just no, but you carefully.
I'm going back to T9. I'm going back to rotary phones. This is the way, as the kids say. We got one more.
Yeah, there's Microsoft and Google. They're locking horns. Yeah. This is, it's interesting because I'm going to go to it at the end. Like, so all this is starting from, it's a blog post that was put up from Microsoft, and it's accusing Google of dishonesty. They're alleging that Google is funding gossip groups that conduct bias studies to discredit Microsoft, and it's leading to antitrust enforcements. And the claim is that Google is also forming a new organization called the Open Cloud Coalition.
They formed it already. It's formed.
Yeah, and it's going to be a front to attack Microsoft. And it's so look, Microsoft says that they've used to bundle, or they still do, browsers with their Windows. Remember, that was anti-competitive. That was a big lawsuit and so forth. And Microsoft argues that everything that's being said here is like it's to the benefit. There's benefits to bundling. It makes it easier for the consumers to find the browser and the product they want to use. So this new organization, the Open Cloud Coalition, it's attacking Microsoft and its friends. And it's a group of 10 smaller European cloud providers. And that is being funded by Google themselves. They have deep pockets. The question I'm wondering, like, why is Google doing this? Like, what is the purpose for this? I'm trying to figure out what is the overlap between the services. Google has the Google search engine. Mm-hmm. Microsoft has Bing. Who the heck uses Bing? So I don't think there's much competition. Google has YouTube. I don't know what Microsoft has as a competitor. So Microsoft has their gaming, the Xbox. Google used to have something, but they trashed that because it was junk. So I'm not sure what is the advantage for going after Microsoft and trying to have legal enforcement go after them, because I don't see any competition really for the most part between the two. Maybe cloud-based, that could be the one big one that is going to be a huge thing moving forward. But
I disagree. I think that the reason they're doing it is because Lena Khan and the FCC, I think, federal. What is the name of that agency? It might be the. I wish I should have looked this up before. The agency that Lena Khan heads up in the United States, okay, responsible for things like antitrust suits, breakups of large companies, among other things. When Google does something like this, first of all, the reason
Federal Trade Commission,
Federal FTC, yes, FTC. So the reason they're doing this is not because Microsoft is a threat to them in XYZ shape or form. The reason is because Lena Khan and the FTC have their crosshairs on Google now. They want to break up that company. YouTube is too big. Google is too big. The browser Chrome is too big. Android is too big. All this stuff is too big, whatever. So they want to break it up. Google's looking at this and going, if they break us up, it's going to really affect our market influence, number one, and it's going to allow our competitors to outcompete us, number two, if they can bundle for a little longer. And so the other thing, Len, that we talked about before, especially in tech, is, I should say in legal and tech, is when you have sort of a first case like this, it allows the second guy up to bat to see to see what the pitcher's slider looks like, to see what the pitcher's curveball looks like, right? To see how the infielders shift and all that stuff. And so now you have the first guy at bat, and it happens to be Google. They don't want to be the first at bat. They want to be Microsoft. And so they come up with this phony baloney group called the Open Internet Coalition, Open Cloud Coalition. Tell me if one of these things is not like the other, okay? Let's play a game. Have you heard of any of these companies? Centerprise International.
No.
Civo.
No.
Claro AI.
No.
Control Plane.
No.
DTP Group.
No. And so who's behind these companies?
Gigas.
No.
ProLinks.
Nope.
Pulsant.
No.
Or Room 101.
No.
These look like fake companies that you would see in like a Madden stadium playing PlayStation 5 because they can't have like Harvey's or, Budweiser in the video game. And so they just pump these fake companies in. And then, of course, the last company in the Open Cloud Coalition, Google. Now, you tell me, okay, do you think that Google is the front of is like the leader here? Are they the ringleader in this circus? Or are they the lion jumping through the burning hula hoop in this circus?
Look, they're the biggest one.
You know who the ringleader in the circus is,
right?
Like
they're the biggest one here.
I don't need Pulsant to tell me that Microsoft is should be the target of antitrust, and this cloud stuff is not fair. It's ridiculous. Microsoft is correct here. They are 100% correct. Google is astroturfing and pretending that they're a backseat player in this organization. They are not. They are leading the charge. None of these other companies are the target of any government agency because none of them have a market cap more than $100. And so,
could you imagine if Google's forced to unbundle some?
They're going to be forced. They're going to lose especially if Harris wins next week. They're going to be broken up. I promise you 100%. Find the odds on Polymarket. Bet your whole house on it. Not financial advice, but they're going to be broken up for the next 4 Democrat years, whether it's Harris or someone else. That's going to be a big time mission of the FTC to start busting up these monopolies. And
the way Google operates, it's in their credit, it works wonderfully well for them because they're able to harvest so much information. Because when you open up your Google phone, there's already Gmail on it, YouTube, Chrome, and
they're feeding you ads at an unbelievable rate, and the targeting is so good now, Len, that it's like, when I turn on my phone, and I have an iPhone, but my wife has an Android. I've had Androids in the past. If you turn on like targeted advertising, you will find something that you're like, oh man, I could use that. Every time you open your phone, you will get an ad that makes you want to buy something. So it is so well done. You're absolutely right.
And then even if you use your computer, if you use Chrome or use Gmail or use YouTube or any other Google Drive, any product, that information is there. It's harvested, and they use that to give you they know what your habits are, what you like, what you may like. And then, as you mentioned, the targeted ads come out. And if they start breaking that up, that's going to be a huge problem for them because the system they have put in place works really well for them. If you look at their revenue generation, the majority of it comes from advertisement. I think it was at one time, a few years ago, 3 years ago, last I checked, was like 85% of all the revenue that they generate, Google as a company's revenue, it's from advertisement. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's sustainable in the long run, but for the time being, it's working so well for them. Mm-hmm. And if they start losing some of the stuff, if they're forced to give up, say, YouTube for whatever reason.
God, imagine. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's.
crazy.
I mean, I don't know what would be the. Like, I'm just trying to think of the products they offer.
It's unprecedented because like the FTC has never had to go into a black box like Google and try and figure out where the tentacles are, you know, which arteries are connected to which organs and break it up. And I honestly, like the other part of me, Len, says that even if they try and break it up, you know, they might break it up for a headline, but pragmatically it'll still be operating as and functioning as one thing.
They gotta do maybe force them to do a trade, like maybe trade YouTube for TikTok and some software to be named later.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
that way you're just, solving two things temporarily.
Cash considerations plus TikTok shorts or something. Yeah.
Yeah. See, then we got something, and then you're kind of solving two problems temporarily until wait a week and it's the same old crap. But if you could do high fives and everything for the time being, and we've done the right thing.
We were active at the deadline. We told our fans we were going to be active at the deadline. we're buyers. Anyway, that's it. Spooky episode of AOE completed. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the newsletter, of course, and the weekly video transmission, audio transmission on YouTube, Google's for now, and whatever podcast player you listen on as well. Until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves.
Happy Diwali.